Forget about afternoon tea and the royal family. The true story of England is about global power, invisible influence, and a geopolitical shrewdness that shaped centuries. Why does a relatively small island still dictate rules on the world stage? Get ready to uncover the depths of British strategy that few truly understand. Insularity as an advantage. The cradle of maritime strategy, England's geography is its destiny. Being an island in northwestern Europe isn't just a characteristic. It's the cornerstone of its entire geopolitics. This allowed it to develop without the need for a massive land army on its borders, freeing up resources for other areas. This insularity allowed England, and later the United Kingdom, to develop a strategy fundamentally different from those of continental powers. Since the Elizabethan era, mastery of the seas became the British obsession. A strong navy meant protection, power projection, and crucially, control of trade routes. If Germany, for example, controlled the ports of France and Belgium, it could build a navy powerful enough to challenge the Royal Navy, natural protection. The English Channel and the North Sea always served as natural barriers, sparing England from the devastating land invasions that plagued the European continent. London always sought to avoid its own soldiers having to die in large numbers on the continent, preferring that the Europeans exhaust themselves in internal wars, usually by providing naval, financial, and sometimes small but decisive land forces. Its privileged geographical position, with easy access to the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, propelled it into exploration, trade, and eventually the construction of a vast maritime empire. The idea was simple: never allow a single continental power to become hegemonic in Europe. If a nation threatened to dominate the continent, the United Kingdom would invariably ally with its rivals to curb its rise. Although not a military bloc, it offers London a diplomatic platform and a global influence network that few countries possess. Although the United Kingdom is no longer the dominant superpower, its diplomatic experience, cutting-edge intelligence, which strengthens its position in alliances like the Five Eyes, and specialized military capabilities make it an indispensable partner for Washington. Amplifying its voice on the global stage, naval focus, without the constant land threat, England could concentrate its resources and ingenuity on building a powerful navy. However, England's deep geopolitics adapted, transforming the formal empire into an informal empire of influence. Openness to the world. While continental powers were bogged down in territorial wars and border disputes, England looked to the ocean. The goal was to restore sovereignty and flexibility to forge new global agreements. But it also generated friction with its European neighbors and created trade barriers. Maintaining the capacity for global projection and deterrence requires continuous investment at a time of internal economic challenges. Brexit's long-term success will depend on the UK's ability to reinvent its economy and geopolitical identity. From naval dominance to informal empire, British strategy has always sought to balance the protection of its island with the projection of its global influence. The current challenges are immense, but history suggests that British geopolitical shrewdness should not be underestimated. And educational institutions are exported globally, creating immense affinity and cultural influence. Let me know in the comments. Shifts in priorities in Washington may require London to adjust its own strategy. London has been vocal in condemning Russian aggression in Ukraine and has actively participated in sanctions and military support for Kichu. The relationship with China is more complex,
balancing the need for trade with security and human rights concerns.
London remains a leading financial and cultural center, attracting talent and capital from around the world. This geographical basis and the consequent maritime doctrine allowed England to become the first global superpower, not by conquering Europe, but by dominating world trade. The continental balance of power, divide and conquer. The great insight of British geopolitics on the European continent was the doctrine of the UATN, of power. Prevention of hegemony. A united Europe under a single power was seen as a direct threat to British security and naval primacy. Targeted intervention. The United Kingdom did not seek to conquer vast territories in Europe, but intervened militarily only when necessary to restore balance. Intricate diplomacy. British diplomacy was masterful at fostering rivalries, forming coalitions, and playing one power against another. This strategy allowed the United Kingdom to maintain its security and global dominance for centuries, without becoming exhaustively involved in European land quarrels. The informal empire. Power beyond the map after the formal loss of much of its colonial empire in the 20th century, especially after World War II, many declared the end of British influence. Commonwealth. The Commonwealth of Nations is a network of 56 countries, mostly former colonies, that still maintain cultural, political, and economic ties with the United Kingdom. Soft power, the English language, British culture, the legal system. Special relationship with the USA. The special relationship with the United States is a pillar of post-imperial British geopolitics. Intelligence networks. The British Intelligence Network is one of the most sophisticated in the world, operating globally and providing London with deep insight into world events. This transition allowed England to maintain influence disproportionate to its geographical size or isolated military power. Operating through networks and diplomacy rather than direct conquest. Modern challenges, Brexit, Russia, and global competition. Despite its long history of geopolitical success, modern England faces significant challenges that test the resilience of its deep strategy. Brexit. The departure from the European Union was a seismic move that broke the United Kingdom's main economic and political link with the continent. Russia and China. The rise of revisionist powers like Russia and China poses a direct challenge to the rules-based international order that the United Kingdom helped build, and from which it benefits. Limited resources. After decades of defense cuts, the United Kingdom's military power, while still significant, is not what it once was. The future of the special relationship. The special relationship with the US, though enduring, is not static. England's deep geopolitics is a lesson in how geography, adaptability, and a long-term vision can sustain power. Do you believe the United Kingdom can still be considered a first-tier global power? Or has its era of great influence come to an end?